Let's see here. Okay, so yes, let's give it 1 second. Let's see if it's working in our app. Mm, 1 minute, please. Guys, if you're seeing us on the app, I cannot see if you're connected yet or not. So I'm checking right now if you are connected. Okay, so just give us 1 minute and we'll go ahead and get started. We're just making sure
Yep.
that it's working right now. Okay, and yes, it looks like we have about 50, a little bit more people joining in right now to the stream. So welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Randy, if I'm saying good your name, for being here and checking us out. Guys, today we are very excited. So we have the Fittipaldi Brothers. Of course, it's real. Somebody's commenting on YouTube. Is this real? Yes, this is real. We're having a real AMA here with two amazing drivers that I cannot say, how good they are. They've been in track for so many years. And so today we're going to get to know them a little bit better, get to see what they're doing in real life, and just, chat a little bit. All the questions that you guys might have, please put them in the comments. We'll be asking around them any questions that you guys might have. So, welcome, guys. Maybe we should introduce you. So first, Pietro, could you introduce yourself? Maybe a little bit about you. What kind of leagues are you currently racing, and then we'll move on to Enzo.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Happy to be here on this Gate.io live, and very happy with the partnership we're having. So I'm Pietro Fittipaldi. I'm Enzo's older brother, and basically I'm the Haas F1 reserve driver, and I'm as well racing in the European Le Mans Championship and the World Endurance Championship. So those are the long 24-hour races, Le Mans 24 hours, and then going to all the Formula One races with Haas. What about you, Enzo?
Awesome. Yeah.
So, what's up, everyone? It's great to be here with you all. So, I'm Enzo Fittipaldi. I'm Pietro's younger brother. I'm racing in Formula 2 um, right now, and that's basically, just one step below the pinnacle of motorsports, which is Formula 1. Um, so, yeah, they're pretty big cars and they're very fast.
Amazing. So, guys, as Gate, we are currently sponsoring the Fittipaldi Brothers. We're so happy to do this because we see the potential that they're having and also the greatness. So, let's get to know a little bit about their stories. So, we're going to start obviously with you, Pedro, because you were the first one, just because of the age, to start getting into races. So, how did you started racing? When did you fall in love with the sport?
Yeah, so I started when I was 4. That's when I got my first cart. And I started because I was watching my uncles race. So, my grandfather raced. Both my uncles were racing, and at the time when I was born, my grandfather wasn't racing anymore. But yeah, my uncles were. So I was watching them race in IndyCar, NASCAR, and like Daytona 24 hours. So I would go watch the races, and I said, I want to try it. And my dad got me my first go kart, and I started, I don't know, practicing maybe once every 2 3 months, and then it became kind of once every month, and then once every week, 2 times a week, 3 times a week, and then when I was around 6, I started competing, and it just went on from there.
Amazing. And how about you? And so, did you see Pietro racing, and that's when you got into racing, or was it like a completely different story?
Yeah, it was very, very similar. I think me, it was more, I was watching my brother racing in go karts, and since a very young age, and it was something I fell in love with since I was very young. Um, and yeah, I was started with go karts in Miami, where we used to live in Homestead, actually in a little track called Opaloka. And I started with a little, small little cadet cart, and we would go training there every week. Then it started becoming every day, and my brother was doing the races, and then I started racing those races, but in the smaller carts. But yeah, basically it started like that, and obviously my family has a very big history in motorsports. So let's say it was very It was a very normal thing
Your blood.
for
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, you grew up in it. Yeah, I mean,
Basically,
if
yeah.
we get a car at 4 years old, I'm guessing it's part of family tradition for sure. I wish I
Yeah.
had a. Yeah, I got my first car at 14, so I couldn't imagine.
Wait, your
So yeah,
first cart or car?
no car. Yeah, no. I
You
never.
had a
Well,
car when you were 14?
Wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
very
Well,
young, actually.
yeah, I was quite young. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I started 2 years earlier than I should. But my dad, I
Yeah,
think he didn't want to drive me around, so he gave me my car. It's like, oh, just go ahead.
that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, I had a driver's permit, but yeah, and it must be fun. But it also, I think it requires a lot of discipline, right? So, how do you get to know the car? How do you train for this? Because it's not okay. You grab a car and you drive it, right? What's in it? How would you express the whole preparation that you need in order to become a very good driver?
I think I think it's like with anything, like with football, tennis, any other sport. I think starting young helps because you kind of develop those skills at a young age, and I think when you're younger, you tend to pick up things a little bit easier. So I think for us, it was great that we started very young. The only difficult thing about racing is it isn't like the other sports where you're playing basketball or soccer where you can practice every day with the ball because you need to have the go kart ready or the car ready. So we can't practice every day like you do in other sports. So I think the important is like every time that we did practice, we made the most out of it. And I think it's that saying that goes, perfect practice makes perfect, and that's kind of ideal. Every time we were able to drive the go kart or the racing car, you try to maximize every day, learn as much as possible, and then when it is time for competition, use what we learned into the competition. But it's kind of like it's so limited to drive that you every time you practice you have to make the most of it. And I think the skills, it comes naturally. I can't teach. If I were to teach a driver, I can't teach him speed. I can teach him the basics of how to drive and how to apply, the throttle, the brake, and kind of those areas that are the principles of racing. But I can't teach someone how to go fast. I think that honestly comes naturally. I can push someone to their natural limit when they're racing a car, but I can't teach someone how to go quick. It's like if Michael Jordan were to teach me how to shoot the basketball, I'm only going to be as good as my talent allows me to. So I can teach, you learn the principles when you're karting, but in terms of going fast, that comes naturally, I think.
Yeah. How about you, Anso? Do you train anything else outside just driving the car? The gym? Do you have to do a specific routine? Do you have to stay fit, or is that really not relevant?
Yeah, we have to do a lot of training. I'm training at a gym in the U.S. called Fit. That they focus a lot on, training uh, different aspects, not just physically but also mental training. You train your reaction time, you train coordination. So it's many different types of trainings you do that will help you when you go on the racetrack, and it's part of your preparation. I also live in Czech Republic with my brother. We're living in Prague, and we also have a gym there. I train with a guy named Martin, and he's great. And we also do similar types of training. We focus a lot on the physical side, but also racing, a lot of it is mental. So you have to do a lot of those reaction time trainings, coordination. Those things help. Decision making training, those types of trainings help a lot. But for me, what has been always what's helped me a lot is I have a simulator at home. And for me, I really like using the simulator as a tool to work um, on my driving skills, and as well on the mental side. I think it's a perfect tool to work for your focus, for your consistency, your concentration. It's a great tool, and that's for me something that I really enjoy is driving the go karts, but also training on the simulator. Since we barely get any time on track, it's very good to train on the simulator on the track you're gonna race at, and do races. I think that's for me has been very helpful.
And speaking of simulators, for the normies out there that they want to kind of race and stuff like that, is the simulator actually the real thing? Can I build my own simulator at home and you guys feel like it's really close to what you actually drive on the road?
Well, I at least for me, I don't think it's that close to what you drive, but I think everything that you put into practice on the simulator, kind of like decision making and learning the track and you where to overtake another car, or kind of the strategy for that particular track, you can like learn and practice on the simulator. And then when you go in real life, it kind of feels like you've went through those decision making processes already before even arriving there. So I think that's what's very helpful in terms of the driving. It is very different. I don't know what you think, Enzo. Do you think it's very different? I think it's very different, but it does help with like reaction time and things like that.
Yeah, it's the simulator. I think it's very difficult to replicate a simulator. Doesn't matter how expensive it is, how how much technology goes behind it. It's just so difficult to replicate something, simulate a real life situation. I think in real life the feeling is always going to be different, so it's very difficult to make that feeling very similar to real life. So for the simulator, that like I said, the simulator I use it more just to train the mental side, and also to learn tracks, to know where to overtake, like my brother said. But like the feeling of the car, it's very difficult to replicate that.
Yeah, I can imagine because it goes a lot. And maybe you can explain to us. We'll start with Pietro. How does it feel being in a car? How does it feel being driving such high speed? Do you feel it in your body? Do you feel it in your head, your neck? What is that sensation for somebody who has never done it? Could you explain in words?
Yeah. So I think that's the difficult thing about the simulator is that you don't have the G forces, So that's why it doesn't feel the same as real life. Because in real life, when you drive the race car, when you're doing those speeds, I don't know if you ever drove a car on the street, and if you turn into a corner too fast, your body wants to go the other way. The car is going the other way, and or the car is going the opposite way. So that's how it feels of it in the race car. But imagine that times like 100. So obviously you have the belts that are very tight. So you have the belts that come down here. You have the belts on the side. So you're like stuck to the seat. But when you're turning, your whole body, like the car is going one way at 150 miles an hour, and your body is doing the, complete opposite the other way. So that's where it becomes very physical. In terms of the speed, sometimes the faster you go, the slower things tend to feel like it's happening. So when you're doing very high speeds at a very long track, everything is relative. So if I'm doing 200 miles an hour and the guy next to me is doing 200 miles an hour as well, and you're racing at 200 miles an hour, people are thinking like, wow, how are they making moves like that? But at the end, it's relative because the guy is doing the same speed as you. But if I'm going 200 miles an hour and a guy's doing 20 miles an hour in front of me, then I might not be able to make the same move because that's going to come up a lot. It's going to seem a lot faster in my head. So in terms of the speed, your mind kind of gets used to it by that way. And yeah, I think the more practice you do and the more cars you drive, you adapt a lot quicker to different speeds, different tracks, and different corners.
It's amazing. How about you, Enzo? Do you feel any pain or any stress in your body, like physically? How does your body feel?
I think it it really depends on the car you're driving, because there is some cars that are a lot more physical than others, and some cars that are more difficult on the neck, some cars are more difficult on the shoulders. Like a good example is the Formula One car. I think I've never driven it, but my brother's driven it, and he told me that it's a lot more difficult on the neck because of the speeds you're carrying through the corners. So it's a lot of G's, and at the same time you have power steering. So on the arms, it's not that difficult. But like in a car like IndyCar, where
Or
there's no
Formula 2.
or Formula Two, where there's no power steering, it's a lot more difficult on the arms, and not as difficult on the neck because you're not carrying, the same amount of speed as a Formula One car. So yeah, it really depends that the cars you're driving. But I don't know, to say it in words to someone, I don't know, it's very difficult. But like I said, I've been doing it, since a young age. So it's for me, it's hard to say it because I'm used to it already, so it's hard to say how it feels. I
Does
think you would
driving a
have to
regular
get Yeah, I think you would
Yeah.
have to get someone that's never driven anything and just put them in a Formula One car, and then they say their first feelings of it.
Does driving a regular car feel boring to you guys or relaxing at some point?
F- For me, it's relaxing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't even feel like going fast on the road on the street because we're always racing. So then I'm just kind of relaxed.
yeah, me too.
That's good. You're responsible. And here's a good question. So you guys mentioned a lot about the mental, right? The mental part of it. Now, for you guys watching that don't know, Pietro was in a really bad accident some years ago. He was able to overcome it physically and mentally, which is incredibly admiring because it really comes to show you how much power you need to have to be able to get in the car. So there's a question here. How do you overcome this fear? Of getting in the car and being fast, especially you, Pietro, after an accident. Do you still get scared, or how do you train your mind to not be scared of going so fast?
Yeah, since I had the accident, it never crossed my mind to be scared. As soon as I had the accident, I had broken my legs. The first thought I had in the hospital was when can I get back racing? That was the first question I asked the doctor was how soon could I get back in the race car? And yeah, I never had any fear. I think it's more a fear of sometimes, a fear of failure, a fear of not doing well enough in a race or not driving well enough when there's a lot of pressure, but never a fear of actually like, oh, getting in an accident or something like that. It's like kind of if you ask a football player if he's scared of getting tackled. I mean, I don't think he would ever be scared of it, because then the sport shouldn't be for him. He should maybe do something else. So then for us, it's kind of the same thing. If you're scared of crashing, then I think, yeah, I don't think you're gonna be very fast, unfortunately.
Do you feel the same, Enzo?
Yeah, I think I think you need to have yeah, you need to be brave to do this sport because it's a sport that you're always at risk of something happening, and you just have to have bravery and be confident, and fear cannot be in your thoughts. I mean, while you're going at those speeds, because you're so focused about how fast you can do this corner, and if you're thinking about what can happen if you crash, then you'll lose your focus. So it's very important, I mean, to just be cool minded, and for me that never really happens ever. I think it depends on the driver.
Awesome, awesome. And I'm guessing you guys get nervous before each race. So do you have any routine that you normally do before each race? We'll start with you, Enzo.
I normally I don't really have a routine. I just uh I just get ready and hop in the car and go. I mean, normally I do have, like, I obviously have the warm up that I do, and I always, but it's not like I do the same warm up and uh do the same this and that, or I get in the car on the same side. I don't have these types of things. For me, it's more just getting my body up to warmed up, whatever I need to do to get it warmed up. And then me, I don't really like listening to music before jumping in the car. I like to just be as calm as possible because I already have too much. Normally, I think it obviously depends on each driver, but for me, I have too much adrenaline, too much energy. So I normally prefer to be calm. Um, but for qualifying, I do take an espresso before qualifying because that helps me. Well, for me, it feels like it helps me have more concentration. And for that one lap that I need to maximize everything. So for me, that's would probably be my ritual. And I do when I'm in the car, I do visualize like the lap and everything. What am I gonna do in the lap? Where am I gonna brake? That I do that as well.
Oh, cool. Do you use like a picture of the lap or just all in your head? Or of
Just
the
all in
track,
my
sorry.
head. I just go like, oh, turn one. I'm gonna brake here, the gear, this corner, that corner, and I just normally do it when I'm sitting in the car, waiting to go out.
Okay. Very interesting. How about you, Pietro? Do you have a routine or not really?
Yeah, no, I have a routine. I mean, it's very flexible, very flexible depending how the schedule is and stuff. But usually, I do like a 5 to 10 minute warm up. Just trying to get my body warmed up before getting in the car. Nothing too long, but just kind of get get everything moving. Because a lot of the times the sessions are very early in the morning. So sometimes you wake up, you go to the track, and if you don't warm up or anything, you go straight in the car. You just woke up an hour ago and you're driving at like 200 miles an hour. So it's always good, I think, just to get the body waking up. Every time before I get in the car, I do drink an espresso as well. It only does it for qualifying. I do it before every time I get in the car. Maybe it's just with the age. I need it every time. but
Mm.
and then I do listen to music. I like to listen to some kind of hype music and something to get me going. I do the visualization as well. So it's not always sometimes about the perfect lap, but it's kind of going through the procedures in mind in some races when things are a little bit more complex, like strategy, or you have to start doing fuel saving, or just different things you have to do. It's sometimes good just to go through your head kind of the process to make sure you don't for you're not missing anything. So I do that with visualization. I do the perfect lap in my head, the overtakes I can do, the start, and then as well there's some, like, I used to work with a mental coach that they do a lot of neuro linguistic exercises, and I think it's kind of that's what helped me build the routine before getting in the car. Is like when you were doing very well, like when you won a race or did pole positions, or a race that you think you performed well, what was the feeling that you had throughout the race or before you got in the car, and how did you feel? And then you start writing it down. Oh, my energy level was good, and you start finding some kind of similar characteristics between different good results that you had, and then you try to replicate those feelings every time before you get in the car. So then you kind of find the variables that are similar when you've had good results, and you try to replicate that. Make sure every time you get in the car, you try to get in that zone, so that you can perform at your best every time. And then that's how I come up with the routine.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, the mental part. I love that part of replicating the good things. And I guess during the race, there's also so many complications. So, for example, for you, Petro, your last race, unfortunately, it's out of your hands. The car broke down. What goes through your mind? How do you start to figure out that the car isn't working? How do you manage that? Do you get angry? What goes through this whole process of things that are out of your hands, and how do you manage after the race to not move forward?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, this time my teammate was driving the car and we were in fourth place and looking to finish in the top three. And then there was a water leak and the engine started overheating. So you get the alarms on the steering wheel, on the dash, and basically we had to stop. But yeah, it's definitely frustrating because a lot of work goes into preparing for these races, and we've had like many good races this year, but then always something has come up that's kind of just taking the result away. So um yeah, I think the best thing is kind of learn what you can from that weekend, and then by the time it gets to, let's say, Tuesday, like today, boom, turn the page and focus on the next one. Because if you dwell a lot on the result, you kind of get stuck in that, and if you have a couple of bad ones, you get in a bad cycle. So it's kind of, my thing is, after every race I need to write my report to the team, and I usually send it on Tuesday. So by Tuesday I send my report, I write what we learned, and then turn the page and move to the next one.
That's amazing. So you get homework. Do you also get
Yeah.
homework? So do you also have to send your reports?
Yes, yes. I also have to send. I send my report for normally every race weekend, 2 or 3 days after the race weekend. I was actually just working on my report before the interview, and
Oh,
then
nice.
I'm just finalizing it. And yeah, normally it's the same thing. Like the report is the last thing you do uh, before turning the page, and that's it. The race weekend's over, and you can forget about it and just focus on the next one. Because as well for me, I had I started the weekend very well, um, and I was just very focused from the start of the race weekend. I had an amazing result. We qualified second, and then Saturday I had the reverse grid start, starting ninth. And normally this year we've always had a really good race. We've been always pushing forward, always having amazing race pace, and always going from the back of the field to finishing in the podium. But on Saturday we had a difficult day. We just, we didn't have, the car set up well for the race, and we struggled, and we finished the race outside the top 10, outside of the points, and right now we're in the fight for top 3. So that was very frustrating. But then again, I turned the page. My head was fully focused for the race on Sunday. I was starting second on Sunday, which that day is the most important because it's the feature race. That's where everyone scores the most points. Um, and once again, we did improve the car, but it just wasn't clicking, and we were struggling to keep up with the top 3. But we had enough pace to finish in the top 5. We finished 5th. It was a good result. We scored good points. But then 2 hours after the result, I get a message from the stewards saying that I have to go see the stewards. Around this track where they said forced driver didn't give in time, and I ended up giving it back one lap, but because they said something like this, they gave me a 5-second penalty, and that put my 5th position into a 10th position. So instead of scoring 10 points, I only scored 1 point. So it was a very difficult. I was very frustrated on Sunday. I was very disappointed. My whole team was very frustrated because, we put so much work, the whole team, so much preparation into getting these results. And something like a 5-second penalty just, ruins it. And yeah, it was like my brother said, it's very difficult. Sometimes you don't have the best race weekends. And I had also just come from one of, I think, my best race weekends of my career, which was a double podium in Budapest. And things can change so quickly. So that's why you always have to be flexible, and you have to know how to move forward and think. And now my head is fully on the next race week in Zandvoort, and to score as many points as possible, and always staying positive.
That's great. So you're heading up this weekend to Sanford, right?
Yes, so I'm right now. I'm in Spa. I'm still here, and tomorrow I will be heading to Zandvoort.
Okay, awesome. So what's like a regular week for you guys? Do you guys actually live just for the races? What's a regular week for you?
Yeah, usually it's kind of really just for the races because we're traveling like one weekend after another. And then me and my brother were living here in Prague. My family lives in North Carolina in the States. So when we have a long break, we go back to the States. But if not, we come here to Prague, and then we're on the simulator all the time over here, practicing and getting ready. I think usually from Monday to Wednesday, and then Thursday morning is usually when we go to the next race. And so when you're out of the
Show us
race
the
in real life,
simulator.
yeah, I'll show you quickly.
Oh yeah, let's check it out. That's so cool.
I don't know if you can see it
Oh,
properly. So
nice.
that's
Yeah,
the
that's
seat,
what we do as where all of our live
the
streams as
simulator.
well.
The
That's
pedals are
amazing.
over
And
there.
Yep.
that's nice. Yeah. And
Yeah.
how much do you spend? I have somebody here asking how much time do you guys normally spend on the simulator? When you sit down, how long is it? Hours? Just a couple of minutes?
Probably 3 hours, 3, 4 hours, right?
Something like
A
that, three
day.
four
Yeah.
hours. And we also do the streaming on Twitch, normally every day when me and my brother were together. And it's like 3-4 hours, and we're doing races on Formula One, different tracks with the people from our live stream, the fans, and we get them all together and we do races.
Oh, that's really cool, guys. So see if anybody watching wants to join, they can just go to what your Twitch channel and they can join
Yeah.
this.
Fittipaldi Brothers. And they can race with us too. We always leave the lobbies open, and people can join in. If they have the F1 game, they can race with us.
Ooh, amazing. So, guys, we actually have a very special surprise today. We're actually going to launch a campaign today where you'll be able to get the F1 game. So, make sure you stay pending to our social media. We'll be sending all the rules and everything there, but we'll be giving you, one of you guys, the F1 game. So, you can go ahead and race with Enzo and Pietro. So, that's really exciting, right? And you guys,
Wow,
do
that's
you guys teach,
amazing.
yeah, do you guys teach tips and tricks for the people that join your lives?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
Because the F1 game, we've played it for the past couple years, and me and Enzo are actually the virtual F1 champions, like the official champions, and so we know all like the tricks and stuff for
Yeah.
the game. So we'll definitely be teaching people.
that's
Anytime,
amazing. That
anytime you guys have any questions, just let us know. Come to our Twitch, and it would be a pleasure to answer and help you guys out.
guys. So whoever wants to start racing online, you have the opportunity to have some great drivers giving you tips and tricks. So make sure you participate in our campaign and go for it. Now let's talk a little bit about crypto and kind of F1. So F1 didn't allow any crypto sponsors a couple years ago. Now they open up for crypto sponsors. Do you think this is a good thing, a bad thing, or no comment?
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's very important. Out of the 10 Formula One teams, 9 Formula One teams are partnered with either a blockchain or a crypto exchange. So I think it was firstly extremely important for motorsport because we know how important sponsorship is in the racing world. But as well in terms of connecting, I think Formula One and racing is such advanced technology, so then to connect with such a technological world as cryptocurrency is, I think it's like the perfect synergy, you know?
Yeah,
Because
I
crypto is
completely,
all about speed and efficiency, and that's the same thing Formula One is.
Yeah, that's true.
completely agree. I completely agree with Pietro.
Perfect, perfect. And so, guys, I think a lot of people don't realize it, but it doesn't matter how talented you are. Unfortunately, in your sports, you need a financial aspect, right? Could you maybe explain? I think you kind of explained a little bit, Pietro, when you mentioned you need the car, you need the tires, etc. But maybe you can explain a little bit more to people. Why do you need money? Why do you need sponsors to be able to actually get to other levels here in Formula One, and yeah, and the whole racing industry?
Yeah, so I mean, I think kind of a very short example, as I mentioned before, is like for sure if you play football or basketball, you can practice with the ball, every day. In racing, you can't do that because you need the car to be ready, you need the engine, you need the tires and stuff. So everything is very limited, and everything unfortunately is very dependent on having the finances to be able to run the team or the car, and that starts smaller in karting. And unfortunately, as you go up, everything becomes more expensive, and more difficult. So for us in karting, it was already a very big challenge. I got my opportunity to go race in cars through Escuderia Telmex, where Mr. Carlos Slim invested in my career, and he basically funded me from Formula 4 all the way to Formula 1. So there's kind of a ladder system to get to Formula 1: F4, F3, F2, F1. And that's very important. So even for Enzo this year, the sponsorship with Gate was extremely important to be able to have him racing in Formula Two, and it was a risk, because the team, for example, that Enzo's racing with last year didn't do well. They were last in the championship. Those are the facts. And with Enzo working in the team and with the engineers, they were able to do a great job. And now, they're fighting for top three in the championship. And without the support from Gate, that wouldn't be possible. And I do think it is important to have the sponsors behind, even when you get into Formula One, because Formula One is, if you think of any other sport, in Formula One, there's only 20 drivers in the world in Formula One, and you have the whole world watching. And not to disrespect any other sport, but in other sports, you have many more teams and a lot more players. And in racing, you're fighting for the top 20 in the whole world. So if you have the chance to just to make it to F2 is something huge, but to make it to F1, it's something even more difficult, and probably even more difficult than any other sport, to be honest. And I think the support of sponsors, it's very important, but it's very rewarding as well to have that story with the driver coming from the single seaters, the junior level, and then finally making it to Formula One, because the exposure is massive.
Yeah, definitely agree. And yeah, somebody saying here, Enzo, you did so well this year. Congratulations. I definitely agree. And also you, Pietro, you've been doing so good. And Enzo, do you know how much is a Formula Two car? If you were to crash it, how much would it cost to replace like a Formula Two car? Do you know? An
There's
approximate?
no, there's no price to.
No, there is a price. I
Well,
know.
there is. Yeah.
Do you get
No, I
fined?
mean it depends. It depends really, like how. I mean,
If you
full.
total the car, it's probably and the engine and everything. What's your guess, Enzo? And I'll tell you my guess.
No, I mean it's our guess. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't think there is an
Yeah,
exact price to how much it's gonna be because it
yeah, of
depends
course, yeah.
for a lot of factors as well. But I don't know, man. It's a very difficult
Yeah,
question.
you got to give it a number.
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I don't know. It's very difficult. I
You
think like
totaled the car. What do you think the damages are gonna cost?
completely total the car.
Yeah,
So
you have to buy
engine
everything
plus.
new.
Yeah,
Oh man,
crew plates, whole thing. Yeah.
800,000 euros, 1 million. I don't know, man.
It's probably around
Wow.
six to 700,000.
Six to
Uh,
7,000
yeah,
euros. Yeah.
just for the car,
Yeah,
and you
but you
have
don't
to
even
run
want to
How
that
about
think
car
for
about
throughout
that. You
the
don't even want to
race.
think about that.
Yeah.
yeah, we don't want to throw
If you
that energy
total,
around. You're right.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
very good thing. So yeah. And Pietro, how about Formula One? How much do you think it'll? Because it's
Yeah.
still
So then
way up,
Formula
right? I think
One,
only a
yeah,
tire is like
Yeah. Yeah, Formula One then is very then Formula One is priceless because the problem is in F2 it's a spec car and everybody has the same car and same parts, so there's a price for every part. The difference with Formula One is every team design and kind of manufacture their own parts and engines. So then there's no really price to it. But to run a Formula One team, for example, there's the budget cap, but it's around 200 million a year of budget. If you split that between two cars, it's like $100 million dollar budget for each car. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've heard of crashes in F1 where he has a bad crash, and in one crash, it's over $1 million in damages, and it's not the whole car; it's just a piece of the car. So it's very expensive
wow.
sport,
Yeah,
unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So that's why, guys, we need to support this type of sport. We need to support the Fittipaldi brothers. If you think Gate should continue to support them, go and spam our social media. Put Fittipaldi Gate wherever you can, so we can make sure that you guys are. Because at the end of the day, you guys, by using Gate, by trading, you're indirectly supporting Fittipaldi brothers. And so for us to carry on with this, we need your support, right? Because they need definitely the money. It's not just enough to have the talent, unfortunately, in the sport. As I mentioned, you need the car, right? You need to make sure you put in the money. So let's make sure that we can support from this. So yeah, we have here people saying Gage should continue supporting. Let us know in
Thank
social
you.
media so we can make sure to we can carry on for this for sure. And so guys, with flights and everything, how do you manage not being tired all the time? Because you're different time zones, you're flying all the time, you're in a different city pretty much every week. How do you manage to handle all this, traveling and stuff so it doesn't affect your driving? Because obviously it's something physical. Do you guys feel like you're used to it, or do you never get used to it?
I get used to it easier now because I'm experienced with it already, but for sure it's difficult. That's why, like, if we are flying like overseas or like from east to west and the time zone's gonna change, you if you have the race, in the weekend, you want to fly out like latest on Monday or Tuesday, so you have like 2 days to recover and get used to the time zone. But yeah, it's definitely not easy. That's I think for me the part I least like in racing is just all the traveling.
Yeah, it's this. It's the
How about you,
same
Enzo?
thing. Same thing. I mean, it's very you get used to it over time because now we're traveling every weekend. I think Pietro travels a bit more than me because he goes as well to the international Formula One races. But other than that, this year for me has been really busy. It's been every weekend traveling almost. And yeah, you get, like I said, you get used to it. Um, but it's just important to have a good sleeping schedule, having a good routine before going to bed. I think that's helped me for sure. But other than that, it is tiring sometimes. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm doing what I love, so I enjoy it every second. I'm enjoying it.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, that's the thing. You love it, right? Because you guys been doing it. How many years have you done it, Pedro?
So for me it's like 20, 21 years.
Wow. Okay. How about you, Enzo?
For me, it's been say like 16 years, 17 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's like a yeah, that's a whole lifetime. That's amazing. So, have you guys ever raced yourselves? Did you guys ever race amongst?
One time, and we crashed.
Really? Where was it? Tell me
Yeah,
more about it.
we
It
crashed
was
into
it
each
was
other.
yeah, actually Enzo crashed into me. It was in West Palm Beach, and it was the only race. It was such a long time ago, and then his car got stuck on top of mine, so I had to get up and take it off. And as I was taking it off, he was flicking me off.
Whose fault was it? That's-
Definitely Enzo's. I
Nah,
was starting
it was your
ahead.
fault. It was your fault.
You came out of nowhere. You forgot to brake.
So you guys were both. Was it an actual race? And you guys
Yeah.
both
It
got
was
into.
yeah, it wasn't a very important one because they like mixed classes together, but it was yeah, it was the only one. And then the other races we do, the only one we've been able to race together is on the simulator. And then we do that all the time on Twitch. On the F1 game, we're always racing against each other there.
Okay, that's amazing. And who's better? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna start a father fight right now.
I'm better.
Probably will see.
Okay.
I guess we could do a poll maybe. Let people go to your Twitch channel and then we'll
Yeah.
get a poll to see who's actually better.
Yeah.
No,
No,
but yeah. And so
it's very fun because we do like little mini championships almost every day,
oh,
and you know, one day I win, one day my brother wins, and it's always a good battle, and
And
people
sometimes we
enjoy
do big
watching.
championships. We do the Fittipaldi Brothers Racing Series where Gates supported it as well. That was a month ago, and then we race against all the best esports drivers in the world, and that's when it's really difficult.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, to hear people say you guys are well on Twitch. I've seen your race and they get intense
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
going on, right?
Thanks.
So for anyone who wants to get into, well, I guess obviously the real racing world is kind of unachievable for most people, just because you need to start early, you need to have very good connections, etc. But how about for e-gaming? How would you recommend people start? What kind of equipment should they get, and what kind of discipline should they have?
Um, well, I think even if you have the Formula One game, I would stick to the Formula One game because F1 they actually give a lot of access. I mean, the game is the same for everybody. So I don't think the equipment you have is really going to change the performance. And if you become very good at the game, you could try to qualify for the F1 esports. And then every year, the F1 teams pick certain amount of F1 esports drivers to actually be the esports drivers for a Formula One team. And actually, one of the Brazilian kids that we knew, and he raced in our series and won the Fitty series. He actually went all the way to the England this year during the Silverstone Grand Prix and qualified to be chosen to be part of one of the Formula One team's esports team. So I would say get the Formula One game. Some guys are very good on the controller, so like an Xbox or PlayStation controller. Um, if you want to get a steering wheel, you can start, with something small, like maybe a Logitech, or if you want to go to something more serious, then the ones that we have is Cube controls and Simu Cube, and then that's a like very professional simulator.
Top of the line, yeah, top of the line
Yeah.
simulator.
Okay. And so, how about the chair? Do you think the chair really affects? Should people get a special setup?
If you guys are gonna get one, go ahead and get a R seat. R seat is very good and nice and compact. I think out of all the ones that I've tried, for me, we have our seat now, and it's amazing. I mean, it's extremely comfortable. It's very compact. Where you put the TV, it's perfect. The pedals, the steering wheel, and it's very nice. I really like it because the thing about having a compact simulator where it's very important because we used to have simulators where when we would brake, the pedals would move down, this and that, and the one we have now, it's heavy metal, so we can really slam the brakes really hard like we do in real life, and there's no movement to it, and everything is nice and compact. So yeah, our seat is a really good chair rig you guys can get.
Okay, amazing. Thank you guys. So yeah, we're running out of time. So thank you guys so much for your tips and tricks. If people want to, connect with you guys a little bit more and just follow all that you're doing, races and stuff like that, where can they go? Where can they find you guys?
Well, on Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube, through the Fittipaldi Brothers channel, we're always putting out content there almost every day. Um, and then if you want to go on Twitter and Instagram, that's kind of where we have our personal channels. Mine is P Fitty and Enzo is Enzo Fitty. But yeah, and also we do the vlogs after every race weekend. We're always doing vlogs on our YouTube channel where you can kind of follow the behind the scenes of our race weekends as well.
So
That's
check us
amazing. That's
out.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, go check in and play with you guys on Twitch, right? And what
for
would
sure.
you like to say to the people at Gate that are watching you right now?
Do you want to start, Enzo, or should
Yeah,
I?
so I wanted to say a big thank you to all of you for all the support this year. We're gonna continue, you know, doing amazing results on track, and we're gonna continue pushing the limits. And yeah, it's been a great year. Me and my brother, we've enjoyed as well a lot doing the gate championships on our Twitch channel for the Fittipaldi Brothers. The giveaways were amazing, and the partnership this year has been incredible. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to the future, and yeah, thank you guys for all the support.
Yeah, thank you guys for everything. We always are looking at all the messages, especially on Twitter. The Gate.io community is massive, and yeah, very happy with being able to represent Gate and everybody from the community on the racetracks. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been
Thank you
amazing.
so much
Thanks,
for
guys.
Thank you,
Yeah, thank you
Mariela.
so much for your time watching. Remember to post on social media. Post if you think we should do another championship with the Fittipaldi Brothers. Post what you want us to do, and make sure you check out our new promotion to win your Formula One game, so you can go in and race with Pietro and with Enzo. Okay. Thank you guys, everyone, for being here, and thank you, Pietro and Enzo. Have a great
Thanks,
day.
Mariela. Ciao.
Thank you, Maria. Bye
Thanks.
bye.